Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Canadian Ruck. This is Jamie Gray. This week's pod, we feature Canadian rugger from England, Matt Evans. Matt was a bruising back with Canada for 39 caps, 55 points. Don't let his small legs deceive you. He had a season with Newport, 9 seasons with the Cornish Pirates, where he's now their manager, which is pretty cool. Member of the 2011, 2015 Rugby World Cup teams, and he also won gold at the Pan Am Games back in 2011 with Canada's Sevens team. Very excited to have Matt on. Great conversation coming up shortly. As always, you want to contact us. We got a few locations. We're all over the social media. Just a quick plug. We're on the Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We also have a Gmail, the CanadianRuck@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out at any time on any of those platforms. And also, when you hear this Matt Evans pod, make sure that you share it to other people. I know a lot of you are already watching, listening, following, subscribing, which is great. But if you haven't, make sure you do. But on top of that, share these out so other people get to hear these awesome, awesome stories. We're on the YouTube, the Spotify, the iTunes, the Google Podcast, and Castbox. And lastly, our website is the CanadianRuck.weebly.com. Check us out there for all content. What's going on in the world of rugby right now? What's some rugby news? There's I guess we're not going to go too deep into rugby news, but we are going to talk about a few things here. First up is what's happening this weekend, and this is really exciting. I'm excited about this. Hopefully you get a little excited too, but Rugby 10s under 18 is happening this weekend in St. John, New Brunswick, and it's pretty much full contact. As I've mentioned in past pods, we've been used to playing 15s here, but because of COVID, everything's because of COVID, we have to play 10s this year. Can tackle, you can ruck, mall-ish, I guess. No scrums, no lineouts. There's just going to be free kicks. But that's happening Saturday. So I'm recording right now Friday night. My team has 4 games tomorrow. So there's games all day. Women are playing in the morning. Men are in the afternoon. All the games are at Milledgeville Field North. If you're in the area, COVID rules, you're only allowed a certain amount of people there. But if you're up watching the game from your car, less than 150 people there, come out and watch some rugby. Each team's playing 4 games on Saturday. 20 minutes a match, and then we do it all again next week. And then there's another date on the 29th as well. So that's exciting. I'm stoked. We had our last practice tonight before the games. Did a little walkthrough. It was a lot of fun. Boys are kind of trying to understand. We've got a roster of about 20 this year due to COVID. Numbers are down, and we've got 6 or 7 veterans, and we've got a lot of rookies that are keen on learning the game, and no better way to learn a game than actually play. So we're stoked and ready to go. Olympics. Are they happening? Are they not? I was listening to CBC radio today, and there was a talk about the Olympic Games. I didn't hear the whole thing. I came on partway through, and then I had to leave. I was on my way to a physiotherapy appointment for my concussions, and I only caught a few minutes of it. But they were interviewing a Japanese businesswoman, and most people around the world say they want the games to go. They want that sense of normalcy. They want something to cheer and be excited for. And I get that. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I want the Olympics to go ahead. I want to watch the 100-meter run. I want to watch some swimming events. I want to watch sevens rugby naturally. I want to see Canada dominate rugby at the Olympics. Saying that, when you look at it from the other perspective, this businesswoman said, it's all fine and great that people want the Olympics to go ahead, but what about us people in Japan? We've been hurt very hard by COVID as much as anybody else has, and businesses are shutting down. And if the Olympics happen, it's not like we're bringing in thousands and thousands of fans because we can't do that because of COVID. So how are we going to recoup that money? And then on top of that, she argued that, the government could be helping us with our businesses when they get low or they're close to closing, but instead they're diverting money to the Olympic aspirations. It was just a different take on it. And I thought, yeah, that's a different side of the story that, a lot of people may not have heard or may not have felt. And it put it back on my mind frame. Like, is this a good idea? You look at what happened in Nova Scotia recently. Nova Scotia was supposed to be hosting the Women's World Hockey Championships, which is an amazing event to hold. All the top hockey playing countries around the world, and that women, the Canadian women and the U.S. women usually dominate, but that got postponed. I had students at my school that had tickets that were stoked to go. The Atlantic bubble was supposed to open up. Didn't happen. Since then, Nova Scotia has been on an uptake with cases. As of today, they have over 1,500, which to some of you think that's not much. Yeah, maybe it isn't, but in the Maritimes, that is huge. In New Brunswick, I think we have about 130 active cases in the entire province right now. So for our neighbors just a couple hours away to have over 1,500, it's a huge deal. And then you look at what's going on with our sevens team that just got back from Dubai, women and men. I don't know who they are, which players, but a bunch on those sevens team have been tested positive for COVID. And they were in Dubai. They isolated, over there. They're isolated on the way back. Yet COVID still came back. So I'm very concerned for those athletes that have come back from Dubai that are not feeling well, that have the COVID, that are feeling sick, and hope that is something that they can beat and push past, and hopefully come out stronger in the end. I really hope nobody has a really bad bout of it where they're hospitalized or worse. And my thoughts and prayers are with those sevens players and hoping that they get better. So saying all of that, my thoughts on the Olympics, I really don't know anymore. Do we go? Do we stay? Stay tuned for a gray area around that, but I'm not sure anymore. Saying that, let's get to some rugby action because there is rugby action happening other than my team playing some rugby 10s. Major League Rugby has a few games on tap, and it's going to be an exciting weekend that you're going to want to stay tuned to your Rugby Network app or TSN2, what have you. Saturday's first game is the Houston SaberCats. They're visiting Kyle Bailey and the NOLA Gold with a 4 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Jeff Hassler's Austin Gilgronis are on the road facing off the New England Free Jacks at 4 p.m. Eastern as well. Matt Heaton and Rugby Atlanta are facing off against your Toronto Arrows. That's a 7 p.m. kickoff. They've got Cole Keith, who today, which is Friday, is his birthday, so it's his birthday weekend. And they also have Ben Lesage, Pat Parfrey, Aaron Carpenter, Rob Howley, and all the rest that have been on the pod as well. And our friend Doug Fraser's Old Glory DC, they're in town against the Utah Warriors. They have a 10 p.m. Eastern start time. Sunday, there are 2 matches, DTH and those high-flying Gilgronis. They're in the Big Apple facing Rugby United with a 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff. And then the last match of the weekend, Travis Larson, Josh Teal's San Diego Legion. They're on the road for the last game facing DJ Sears Drew and the Seattle Seawolves. That game is an 8 p.m. Eastern kickoff. All right, gray area. We haven't done one in a while, but I am going to throw one out this week. I know I've been a little slack on social media. Exams are coming up at my school, and my focus has been a little bit actually on my work that I get paid for. So I apologize if you have been missing social media content, but sometimes you got to do what you get paid to do, right? Here we go. The gray area this week, quite simply, should the Olympics go through this year, or do they need to be pushed back to 2022? I'll throw that up in a couple of days. East Coast Roast Coffee, an independent micro coffee roaster here in St. John, New Brunswick. What microbreweries are to beer, East Coast Roast is to coffee. They source from independent farmers and co-ops all over the world and roast in small batches to bring something interesting to the local coffee scene. If you haven't had East Coast Roast coffee, get some today because that stuff is wicked. So if you're into really fresh coffee, head on over to their site at eastcoastroasts.ca or pick up beans from Jeremiah's Paris Crew, the Art Warehouse, or Woodchucks in St. John. Coming up now, Matt Evans. All right, so welcome back, everybody. We welcome Matt Evans to the Canadian Ruck. It's his second time on, first time going on by himself. Matt's got 39 caps with Canada, he had over 50 points, 9 seasons with the Cornish Pirates. He's at the Rugby World Cup in 2011 and 2015, also gold at the Sevens Pan Ams back in 2011, and he's currently the manager / trainer, I guess, training target practice there for Cornish right now.
Yeah, filling, bag holder. Yeah.
There you go. Well, welcome back, Matt. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jamie.
All right. So let's jump into your backstory here. So, if you don't know Matt, if you don't know his background and you're hearing him for the first time, you hear that British accent. Talk to us about, I guess, you kind of born in England, came over to Shawnigan Lake out in BC, and you've been kind of all around. Just talk to us a little bit about your journey in the rugby field.
Yeah. So I was born in a place called Salisbury, which is in sort of southwest England there, Stonehenge, right near Stonehenge, and grew up there, started playing rugby at Salisbury, and my father eventually married a Canadian woman, my stepmother Lorraine, and when they had my little sister Michelle, they emigrated over to Canada, and I followed about 6 months later when I was 11, and we moved to Maple Bay, BC, and then I went to Queen of Angels, which is a little school in Duncan there, and then a couple of years later, I progressed on to Shawnigan Lake because Mark Hall, who is still on staff at Shawnigan actually, was a teacher there at the time, and he coached Cowichan men's team with my dad, and yeah, it just sort of opened up an opportunity to go to Shawnigan and have a look around and stuff, and then it's sort of a nice fit for me in the sense of you know, what they had to offer with sport, and really helped me academically as well. So and I lived over in, well, I lived at home, and then I boarded at my last few years at the school. I was always a bit back and forth because my mother remained in the UK, so I would visit holidays and everything like that. So I never quite lost the English the English twang, but I became a very passionate Canadian, as a lot of expats do, go over to Canada and never want to leave. So I quickly became just immersed in Canadian culture, Canadian lifestyle, loved it, still do, and sort of progressed through the ranks at Shawnigan, played a lot at Cowichan. I love Cowichan Rugby Club. Some of my best rugby memories are from there, and some of the best people I know are from there. So I was very fortunate to have two platforms to play a lot of rugby, and that led to playing under 17 Canada, under 19 Canada, under 20s. There's actually played under 21s as well before they merged them both into the same sort of category. And then yeah, I became a Canadian citizen in when I turned 18, so seems like forever ago now.
Don't have to date yourself.
Yeah. And then yeah, became a Canadian citizen, and you know, I hold that and cherish that passport, you know, and hopefully one day I'll maybe be able to set up some proper roots down there, but my life took me a little different direction for now. So
well, I mean, that's fair. Like you spent a lot of time playing for Cornish. You're there, I think, 9 years as a player, and you're now in a managerial role there. But talk to us about your journey as a player at Cornish. And I guess, you know, you're at Shawnigan Lake, yeah, U20s, U17s, et cetera. You also played a little bit with the Dragons and in Newport. How did all of that help you when you got to Cornish and you had such a long, prodigious career there with the Pirates?
yeah, I was really lucky. I went to Garrett John, who you would know, you know, coached the sevens a lot, helps a lot with the men's 15 side, and was sort of like a you know, a big part of Canadian rugby. When I sort of was at the end of high school, he started with Rugby Canada, and he had left a role at Hartpury College, which you know, I wasn't hugely academic. I was very thankful for Shawnigan to help me channel what inner academia I had, to get to a point where I could legibly write my name and, you know, act as a normal human being in the world. So I got presented with an opportunity to attend Hartpury College on this sort of international program they ran, and the rugby program there, what they did was they recruited guys from, you know, sort of tier 2 nations. There was Zimbabwean guys, Kenyan guys, Canadian guys, a couple US dudes are over there too, and they sort of bring them in to play Saturday rugby and university rugby for them. And then we promoted. I did 4 years there, but now they're in the championship along with the Pirates, you know, so it worked what they tried to do.
Great.
But anyway, he sent me that opportunity, and a guy called Alan Lewis was the head coach then, and he took me on, and I played week in, week out, pretty much twice a week for 4 years. I was very lucky, no injuries or anything like that. And in my third year, I actually, alongside it, I was able to do the Canadian under 19, under 20 stuff as well. And then I would return to Canada for the summer and I'd play. I know my first year I played Tide rugby on the island, and then you know, doing a lot of good stuff like that. Just constantly, I was just in a great cycle of playing a lot of rugby, because I never imagined being a professional rugby player. I enjoyed the junior stuff with Canada, but I didn't know if I'd ever make it in the senior squad. And then in my third year at Hartpury, I got well, it's actually the summer of my second year, I played in the NA4, which was really a great experience. Tony Medina was the coach, and you had guys like Philly Mack, Cleves, some really great players. And we went down to Denver and played an awesome tournament. And I got a look in and played a Canada A game against Gloucester then that summer. And then I got a call in November from Kieran Crowley inviting me on the November tour in 2008. I got capped then against Ireland, and yeah, it was all down to really just volume of rugby. I think I've never been a physical specimen like some of the Canadian guys I've played with, but I think just my rugby experience from all of that maybe set me up to be a part of that team and contribute something valuable, hopefully.
So it sounds like you had a long list of experiences that help you as a player with the Pirates. But I think part of it is, you said you weren't a big bruiser, but you were a very multi-purpose back. Like, you played in a variety of positions in the backfield. How important was that versatility to help you being successful for Canada and for Cornish and, throughout your rugby career?
Yeah, I think Kieran Crowley gave me a lot of opportunity to play in variety of, when I first came onto the scene with them, I was looked at as a 10. And then I was playing more fullback at university. And then it's sort of back and forth between that the first couple of years. And then I settled into the back three a bit, and then opportunity was given to me to play in the centres. So I got capped from 10 out eventually, which was, something I'm actually very proud of. I always bug some of the guys about I should have had a run at 9 at some points, but Eddie Ferris would go down or go get subbed off. But yeah,
So I wasn't going to let you do that.
No, he wasn't going to let that happen. But yeah, I think the ability to cover all those positions made me more versatile in the sense of being involved in a squad regularly, because it shapes how your bench is going to be. You can chop and change a bit on the pitch. If I started or if I was on the bench, I could cover a multitude of positions, and probably helped. But it was sometimes I don't think it helped me, because I loved playing fullback, and I was always given an opportunity at fullback with Canada, which I was very thankful for. But I got pushed to the wing a little bit because of the style of play we had at the Pirates was very kick chase predominant, and I was quite probably known as a bit of a steady Eddie on the wing. Made my tackles, was everybody always sort of jokes around. I was like Forrest Gump, like just super keen on running hard and running straight. So I was always sort of in around those kick chase. So I was probably gave a lot to the team that way, but I actually really enjoyed being with a distributor and stuff with Canada, playing from fullback, but it never really happened. We had some great fullbacks play at the Pirates, so they just let me do what I did on the wing, and it never really translated too much. But with Canada, if you look at the vast majority of the caps I had and the appearances, it was in the back three, so it's probably where I really belonged. But I could do a job at those other spots as well if needed. So
it says a lot for your playing ability and your style, that the coaches would have that much confidence, and your players, your teammates would have that much confidence that you could fill in at any of those backs position, and without skipping a beat, because you knew what you were doing and you had that really good rugby awareness and sixth sense for the game, that it worked out more often than not, I imagine, right? So
yeah. So I think everybody was a bit panicky sometimes when I had to slot into 10, but but yeah, it worked.
Well, that's all in your head.
It's some of my better games, I think, when I reflect. We played the US on a summer tour. It must have been 2012, I think. We played a series of games, and I got there, and Connor Braid was supposed to come, and I think he was the primary 10. I think he broke his thumb or something like that. And I got there off the plane we played in the final of the championship, and we'd lost to London Welsh. And I got on a plane that night, and I landed in, where did Tragically Hit from?
Kingston, Ontario.
Kingston. So
Bob Cage and Kingston area.
Yeah. So we landed in Kingston, had the first week camp there because we were playing the US in Kingston. Crowley calls me into his room as soon as I got there. Says, Evs, Brado's not coming. We're looking at you to start at 10 this series now. And I was like, been playing on the wing all year, thinking, okay. he said, "Don't worry, Pritch is here, so he can still kick at goal."
And everything covered.
So basically, I had to just pass and give. We had a couple.
That's true. Catch from 9, pass to 12. Catch from 9, pass to 12.
Conduit.
Yeah. All right. So
yeah.
That's good. No, that's good. Like it's very versatile. It sounds like Crowley had a good sense of humor around with it too, and let you know that you didn't have to kick very much. That's good as well.
Yeah.
Has your kicking improved over the years since then?
No, it hasn't. I had a run out for Red Ruth, who are National 2, in December of the season before, because I wasn't playing much at the club, and I just said, "Oh, look, they had a couple injuries, and we were supposed to send one of our young guys there to play 10 for them." And he broke his foot in training on the Monday. And Red Ruth had helped me out when I came back from my knee injury and gave me some game time there to get back into the swing of things. And, they're a great club. And I just said, "Look, I'm not involved with the Pirates this week. If you need somebody to play, I'm happy to come and play." And it ended up being the coldest, wettest game I've ever played. And we've played a few of those in Cornwall. I put a left foot cross-field kick in, which went about 15 metres backwards, but it was so windy, it blew forwards, and the winger got on the end of it and almost scored. I remember thinking, "Oh, I should never kick again," really, after that. But the crowd were clapping a little bit. But I don't know if they were clapping with "it worked out" or laughter or what. But yeah, it was...
maybe a bit of both.
A bit of both, yeah.
All right, let's talk. You had a couple of really good experiences, 2011, 2015 at the Rugby World Cups. You got to go to New Zealand, which is basically the mecca of rugby, and then 2015 in England, which is a homecoming for you. Can you talk to us about those experiences and what the atmosphere was like for you personally, and what your expectations were, and encompass as much you can about those two environments for those Rugby World Cup events.
Yeah, I was 2011. We played home and away to the US in the warm-up games before that, and I actually badly injured my MCL, and I ended up getting, the benefit of the doubt really from the coaching staff that I'd be fit, but they knew I wouldn't be able to partake in any of the tour we did in Australia beforehand and stuff. So I was just really thankful to be given the opportunity to get there. And then I got back fit, and a guy called Ryan Hamilton managed to elbow me in the hip and give me the hockey guys get it a lot from like a hip pointer, like bad hip
flexor.
Yeah. So I remember chatting to a couple of Chancey O'Toole. I was like, "Oh, hey man, you get those hockey all the time." That was about the most Chancey ever said to me. But yeah, so
kind of sound like him too.
Yeah. Well, I should take my teeth out again, and I'll sound a bit more like him. But I missed the first game against Tonga, and I was due to start, and I couldn't because I picked up that knock. So it was a bit like I just thought the world's against me here, like trying to play in this World Cup. But I was very fortunate I got to play in the last two. So the boys had a fantastic win against Tonga to start it off, and great performance against France, and almost upset the apple cart there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to play in the last two. But I think that was really the first glimpse of what it was, just a glimpse of what life must be like to be a famous person, because we were staying in somewhere north of the North Island. It's quiet little town, Whangarei, I think it was, and a couple of us went out for coffee in civvies, and people were coming up to us and introducing us. I knew who we were by name.
That's cool.
And I was with Andrew Tiedemann and Hubert Bidens, and we were sitting there, and those people walked off, and we were saying, "How the hell do they know who we are? Why would anybody?" You could walk down the street in Victoria and no one know you are, and that's one of the hubs of rugby in Canada. So, yeah. And it's like that was pretty cool. Just little bits like that, and then obviously the big stage, you got to play against the All Blacks in Wellington, and they. Being a World Cup, it was a star-studded team, and it was funny. Really, you were living the high life, and it was our last game, and it was a very abrupt end to that stardom, because I remember we played New Zealand, and up to that point, you get looked after like nobody's business. Gatorades, waters, fridges full of stuff, food everywhere, all this. And we played New Zealand. We had a big social that night and stuff, and we all came down for breakfast in the morning and went to the team room where everything was. And we got there, and there's a security guy standing there. So, oh, sorry, boys, changeover in the hotel Australia are coming in today, so we've moved you to a different room for breakfast. To which we turned left around the corner, and it felt like descended into a basement where everybody was hung over in a room about a fifth of the size of the one we were in. No fridges, just a couple of jugs of tap water, and just people wagging their fingers telling us to get out of the hotel, basically.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
I remember that back in 2011. Chauncey O'Toole's. I know him socially. He lives about 15 minutes from me and stuff. We grew up in the same small town. Yeah. And I remember messaging him before that World Cup game against the All Blacks saying, you know, congrats, you're going to be facing off against Richie McCaw. And if memory serves, it was supposed to be his 100th cap. And then they didn't dress him. He was the water boy that game.
Yeah, basically him and Dan Carter pulled out, didn't they?
Yeah.
Dan Carter did his groin, and we all sort of gathered around saying, all right, we've got a chance here, boys. This might be happening now. So they had a couple other good guys in their team, I guess. You know,
they had a couple.
Bill Williams and a couple of decent players. So, but yeah, we probably missed an opportunity there. But we'll put it down to fatigue from the whole tournament. But,
it was all good. So fast forward, 4 years later, you're in England, hometown, and England flamed out bad that World Cup. What was it like for you?
It was a fantastic experience, personally. More off the field, because obviously a lot of family, my mother's Welsh and all her family live in Cardiff, or my family live in Cardiff. So that first game, due to geography of it, playing at the Millennium Stadium, I had 10 family members there.
Beautiful stadium, and
it was packed. The Irish fans were there. We had loads of Canadian fans. It's unreal stadium to play at, and it was just, I can't speak any more highly of how great an experience that was. From the rugby perspective, I think it was disappointing because we played so well in so many parts of the Italy game. For me, that was one of the best games I played in with Canada, and it was just a couple little bits undid us. And if we had won that, I think we would have carried more of a confidence into what we did eventually against Romania. And we, you always reflect on it, and it has a knock-on effect. Like if we'd beaten Italy that day, I feel in my heart we would have beaten Romania handily, and then we would have qualified for the next World Cup. Mm-hmm. And then it just had such a knock-on effect to just, because that was always I don't know if anybody would ever really know, but that is something that we always thought about was, what are we leaving behind here? What's our legacy? And if you can give people coming through the opportunity to have the funding, the test matches, everything like that. So when it all finished, it was something I'd thought about for a couple of years afterwards, and it always made me feel, a bit crap, really, that it was, we didn't do better that way. But well, now I'm, got past that, just, you put the years behind you, and I just reflect on it, and it was still, what a wonderful experience that all was as well, and some great people. I mean, super fortunate to share the Canadian jersey with so many good people, not just good rugby players, So the way the world is at the moment, you don't connect with everybody as much as you used to, but they're the sort of people I hope that, when you do bump into them in the future, it's you picked up where you left off pretty easy. So
no, that's true. Like you talk about the legacy there. That's impressive. I've read the book Legacy by James Kerr a number of times, and one thing I always preach to the teams that I coach, whether it's rookie rugby or high school, or I coach provincially for a couple of years, it's, are you being a good ancestor for this team? Are you being a good ancestor for this club? And you spoke about that quite eloquently about, you felt bad for about 2 years because you feel that you put Canada in a rougher position because you didn't automatically qualify for the 2019 World Cup. I think that's an inherently good trait to have, and I imagine most of your teammates felt the same way. But they did well. They made it to 2019, and now they're working towards 2023. So let's take a look at a different side of things. You also played sevens, right, Matt?
Yeah, I was fortunate to before the 2011 World Cup, I had one sevens cap because I wasn't playing much. I was at Newport Gwent Dragons, and I started the season, played a little bit for the first team, and then just sort of didn't really fit the picture, I don't think. So I didn't get much involvement. Played a lot for Newport, which was a lot of fun. But basically, Garrett got in touch with me at the time and said, "Look, would you want to come and play?" So I played Vegas because there was an injury, so I flew out, and then I was supposed to play Hong Kong as well. But I actually tore my hamstring playing because the deal was I was allowed to go from the club, but I had to play for Newport on the Saturday and then fly Saturday night. I tore my bloody hamstring that night, so that day, so I didn't make it Hong Kong, but
still Vegas though.
Yeah, Vegas was good, yeah. Yeah, so I had sort of an audition, if you want, because those guys are a different breed, really.
Mm-hmm.
I've known Harry and Harry Jones and guys like that for a long time, and one of my best mates is Nate Hirayama, really. I played against Nate from high school to playing with him at provincial level, under 17s and all through, and he's somebody who I hugely respect as a person and hugely as a player. He's I know how highly rated he is in sevens, but very underrated in the 15s game.
Yeah,
he's a man who's gone and
played
anywhere in the world, I believe, but it doesn't suit everybody. And he's made an immensely huge impact on Canadian rugby and set a marker in the ground for Canadians on that World Series. So, but anyway, I got a sort of a foot in the door then, and then when I finished the World Cup, I was out of contract. So, Garrett and those guys took me on, and I played I did a couple weeks of the training camps, and I was fortunate enough to make the Guadalajara squad, which I think I was there as chief energy giver, because what I probably was to them was when they felt a bit tired in sessions, they'd have a look over at me and see how much I was struggling, and they all felt a bit better. So that was probably my role to play in that.
Little sports psychology at play.
Yeah, probably. Like, we got this, boys. Look how much Mevs is dying over there. And he's still trying. So, but no, just unreal experience. And to come out with a gold medal. And what's funny is that when I was at boarding school at Shawnigan, they used to be this old poster, Pan American Games poster, rugby one in Ripley's house dormitory, and I always used to walk past it, and I never really knew much about it, but I knew obviously about the Commonwealth Games and stuff from my father and like upbringing and things.
Yeah,
that's why I got explained by Rod Samuel once. Pan American Games is the equivalent, to what the Commonwealth Games are. So to be able to eventually go and play in one of those was so great, and to win a gold medal against a good Argentinian side. We beat a good American side on that route as well. And, look at some of the players that were there, went on to be, sevens royalty with Canada. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
so I want to, that's awesome. Like Rugby World Cup, gold medal Pan Am Games, all in the same year. A few years later, again, you were at another World Cup. I want to backtrack a little bit because you've mentioned it a couple of times. See, I work at a boarding school here in New Brunswick, and I was a house parent for 9 years and coached the varsity rugby team at the same time. What was it like living in a dorm for you? Like, how much trouble did you give your house parent and, stuff like that? Like, were you a good boy or what's the deal there?
Yeah,
I see a sly smile.
Probably was. Yeah, so I was very fortunate. I had a bursary to go to Shawnigan, so
you had to behave.
Yeah, so I was always very thankful to the opportunity that they gave me. So I probably was a bit head on the side of caution a little bit. I'm sure I was a pain in the ass at points, but I did stuff wrong like any kid, but I was generally pretty good and pretty reliable, I think. I loved it. It's not for everybody, and I had friends come and go. I had friends that came and stayed, and friends that came late and wished they'd been there earlier. It just depends on who you are and what sort of personality you have. There was tough times. I think it grew me as a person and sculpted me into a person, because I was very lucky to have role models in my life. Like Roger Samuel was my house director, and he's still involved in the school.
Nice.
Him and his wife Dana were fantastically kind to me, and looked after me a lot. Mark Hall was great to me, saw potential and gave me the opportunity. Dave Robertson, Mark Wyatt were my Colts coaches. You're looking at a Canadian legend there, and then one of the best people I've ever met in Dave Robertson, guiding you not only rugby wise but morally as well. And then my tutor was Gary Duclos, another Canadian legend. So I was surrounded by people who, the moral fiber of these guys was hugely strong, and they kept me on the straight and narrow in that way. Not that I was kicking up too much fuss with that, but I had guidance and help on every corner I turned. And there was a lot of other people who I probably should mention, but it doesn't mean a whole lot to everybody. But that school was massively influential on me. I'm hugely grateful for that. And at the time, we weren't you look at the powerhouse that Murdy and stuff have created there now. It wasn't that way. We had some great matches. We lost 3 BC finals while I was there. I've got a beautiful coaster set of silver medals.
Yeah.
All the different teams. Yeah. We always had a good team, and we just never quite got over the line. But those BC high school tournaments, those weeks are highlights in my life still. So,
that's nice.
But like I said, it's not for everybody, but it just happened to be a perfect fit for me, and I would not be where I am in life without that. And that coupled with rugby has given me, so much to be thankful for, and makes me want to pay it forward to people, and hopefully be a good person in the way I conduct myself.
It's awesome, being a good ancestor all the way around again. So I thought of a way to get you back to Canada. Start up a Major League Rugby team out in Vancouver, or even here, hell, on the East Coast. Get involved. Would you be able? Would that be something you might not be able to talk about it because you're contracted with Cornish? But is that something down the road that you could see yourself like becoming involved in, like coaching, managerial stuff over Major League Rugby?
Yeah, do you know what? I fired DTH a message today, because he was one of my closest friends going through the Canadian stuff, and
he's lighting it up.
Yeah, as he does everywhere he goes.
Yeah,
he's unfortunately brilliant at everything he does with very minimal effort. Never met a bloke who doesn't like training as much as DTH, but yet rocks up on Saturday and can do anything anyone in the world can do.
Pisses you off a little bit.
Yeah, I do actually question why I'm mates with him, because he's a pain in the ass, really. But no, and I just asked him how it's going, because you got guys like pioneers in it, in the sense of like your Phil McKenzie's, who went over to San Diego, I believe, right at the start, and Philly Mack and those guys are all down at Seattle. And in its infancy, the rugby was hit and miss at points and stuff like that, as anything starting out is going to be. But it's starting to look like it's got all the signs of being progressing into something that's great. So what you're getting is steps towards rugby quality with what is the North American structure of how professional sports run, which you don't see in the UK or France or anything like that. So that business model towards that is very interesting and very cool. And what I would like to see, look at the Arrows. They're great. They're doing pretty well, and they've got consistent paid people there, which is what you need. But the problem is we need more Canadian teams in that. And yeah, if I could have involvement in that one day in some capacity, what an opportunity that would be. I'll have to sharpen my managerial axe, as they say. I have to get in touch with Alana Gattinger, who's manager, or Ryan, or some of those guys, get some good tips of the ones I thought were good. So
I was before we called there. I was watching the Arrows game, and there's 15 minutes left in the match. They're up 33-12 on New York. So
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Good.
it's pretty. Yeah, it's that Major League Rugby at well in Canada. We have to watch the games on TSN for the Arrows, but all the other games they're streamed for free on the Major League Rugby, the Rugby Network, I think it's called. You can
Yeah.
watch any game. It's awesome, like all for
Well,
free.
that's it. Just getting it on the TV, getting it on the computer, which is so easy these days.
Yeah,
Just get people to see it and see what it's about.
yeah.
You
Anyway,
know, it's so hard to promote something that people can't see nowadays with the way it was. People
yeah,
don't take your word for anything anymore. You got to show them,
that's
and if
true.
you can show people, then what a difference. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's exciting to watch. That's for sure. All right, so Matt, we're at our quick fire section here. So I got about 20 questions. As I said before, and it's a little bit different than the structure you had with Books and Evan, but it's still a lot of fun. You ready to go? All
yeah, let's do it.
right, who's the best team you ever faced?
New Zealand.
2011,
Yeah,
even without Carter and McCaw?
yeah,
Oh,
still a class above.
who was the best player you ever faced?
Mugu Goza, scariest, but what versatile athletic bloke from Georgia.
Georgia. So is he the toughest you ever faced too?
Yeah, faced. Yeah, they're bloody scary bunch of blokes, those old Georgians. Yeah, team full of Cudmores there, huh? But yeah, but no, he was a brilliant rugby player. You know, he played in France for a long time and led Georgia to some great places. So yeah, I think understated, but yeah, probably one of the most brilliant players I've seen.
Okay. Sevens or 15s?
15s for me.
What's the best match you were ever a part of? Could be high school, U20, Cornish.
Best match I was part of. Probably we beat Bristol playing for the Pirates at the Pirates in 2012, I believe, and they had pretty star-studded team. You know, Dwayne Peel, guys like that, and we were never expected to get anywhere close with the squad we have, and we did it that day. It was brilliant, and it was pumping down at the Mene. And you know, you ask Books when it is good down there, it's bloody good. So.
Okay. What's your favorite rugby tradition?
Used to be the boat race at Cowichan Rugby Club
That's
with
a good one.
they do an after match boat race, which I always enjoyed watching as a kid, and then I got to participate in a few.
Were you any good?
Oh, I can sink a pint, yeah. Not too many of them now, but I was not too bad, yeah, actually. I've seen
Glory,
worse.
glory days, eh?
Yeah.
All right. Who's the best team you ever played with?
Probably the Canadian team that went to the 2011 World Cup.
Yeah, it was a good squad. You guys had a good
Yeah,
squad.
that was a good squad.
All right.
Yeah.
So we know your nickname's Mevs.
Yeah.
Did anybody like you talked about being called Forrest a little bit? Was it something that never stuck, or was that
So Mevs has always been my nickname since the day I walked into boarding school. Somebody said Mevin, the room's here, and I think because somebody else was called Matt Evans at that school at the time. Well, he was. I know him still, but that stuck with me, and I very rarely get called Matt or Matthew. Only when I'm in trouble with my mother, or yeah. I probably don't get called any other nicknames except I get absolute peppering for the size of my legs and always have. So yeah, Chicken Little, all that sort of stuff occurred, but nothing ever stuck, luckily. So just Mevs has really been my nickname.
it might go viral now.
Yeah, might do. Yeah.
All right. Who's the player that you love to smash?
It's a guy. He's actually quite a nice bloke, but his name was Jeff Campbell, and he used to play for Oak Bay, and he used to play for James Bay. And for some reason, I just always enjoyed running into him a lot and tackling him when we were in high school and stuff. So I actually played with his brother. He's with the Arrow. No, he's down in. He's playing in one of the MLL teams. I think he's
Cool.
with Dougie now. But yeah, I don't know where Jeff is anymore. But yeah, one guy probably sticks in my mind.
That's awesome. Good fellow, but you still like to hit him.
Yeah.
Any rugby superstitions?
Yeah, always right, left. Do everything right, left. So right sock, right boot, left boot. And then if I say didn't tie my boot up well enough on my right, I'd have to take my left one off and then start all over again.
That's could be time consuming.
Yeah.
All right. This is the most important question you're going to be asked. Who would be 3 people you would take axe throwing at a tournament for world domination?
I'd take Jamie Cudmore because he's got I don't know, a trunk full of axes probably. I'd take Jason Marshall because he's like obsessively, you know, he wanted to win at that sort of stuff. And then I'd take Chancey O'Toole too as well because he's just got those big mitts and sort of weird strength about him. That'd probably be the 3 guys I'd take.
Yeah, they're 3 good shouts for sure.
Yeah.
All right. What's the most used app on your phone?
One called Slack, which is my contact point to get messages out to the squad. So I'm on it all the time trying to herd these cats that they call Cornish Pirates together. So,
all right. What's your go-to food?
I'd love to say sushi, but we don't get good sushi in the UK. I have to wait back till I come back to Canada for that. But we can't beat a bit of fish and chips down in Cornwall.
Chips or cookies?
Sweet man, probably. Probably known for my sweet tooth a bit more than anything else.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. What about French fries or onion rings?
Oh, French fries for me.
Okay, so you lived in Canada for a while. Would it be French fries or would it be poutine?
Probably still French fries. I tried poutine a few times, but it wasn't. Chips and gravy for me.
Didn't do
soggy. I like a crispy fry.
Okay, that's fair. What's your favorite beer?
Probably a pint of Tribute Ale, which is brewed in Cornwall.
Okay.
It's like a flat, like it's not fizzy like a lager or anything. It's Canadian beers. I do love being on the water in Maple Bay with a nice cold can of Lucky Lager, but
Lucky gets shouted out quite a lot, actually.
People like Lucky, yeah. Cheap.
What's a guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure of mine. My shed. I like going. I don't have much say on what goes on decorating wise in my house, but I've got full control over my shed in the garden. So I find myself on weekends and stuff rearranging it. My missus says to me all the time, "You can't hang another shelf in that shed. There's no room." I say, "I'll get something up." I just leave an hour in there. So that's probably my guilty pleasure.
That's a good one. Yeah. Where's the best place for a post-match beer?
The Yacht Inn was always a good place. Nick George, one of the sponsors at the club, would always shout out. I used to walk down there regularly with Brett Bookabim and have a couple pints in there. Sensibly, obviously, you don't want to be walking around with a man that big and getting into trouble. So,
all right, what's your favorite song or like your favorite musical artist?
It will be Hotel California by the Eagles.
Okay, that was quick.
Developed a nice dance routine to that as well, which I bust out at special occasions, weddings.
Well, this is a special occasion.
I know. I ain't got enough tributes tonight.
What series are you binge watching right now?
Yellowstone, and I'm waiting for I only just heard about it, so I just crushed the first 3. I was loving it. Made me want to learn how to horse ride, all sorts of stuff. But I'm waiting for the series 4 to start.
Yeah, it's a wicked series.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
Roadhouse.
Yeah, that's a good one. That dates you a little bit too.
For some reason, it was always on TV on like a Saturday when I was a kid on like Channel 33. I can't remember what that was, Superstation, something like that. But I always used to. It was one of those ones that would take. It's like an hour and a half movie, but it'd take like 3.5 hours to watch with all the commercials and stuff.
Bleeping out the language and.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a good one. All right, 3 quick fire questions left. Who would play you in the Netflix movie of your life? I've heard rumors that Brad Pitt has chicken legs.
Yeah, well, if he did, that would be a nice match. But probably like Christian Bale from The Machinist or something probably suit me better.
All right, we can go with Christian Bale. Okay, all right.
Yeah, we'll go with Christian Bale. He's pretty method actor and stuff. I spent some time with him. Yeah.
Who would play the leading lady? You're looking to see if your missus is walking in the room?
Fortunately, she's hopefully fallen asleep in the other room. But who would play the leading lady? I don't know. I like. She's not an actor, but Jessica Ennis was nice. She's a great British athlete.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it's your movie. You can cast whoever you want.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
All All right, last one. What would the movie be called?
How to Get By Just Working Hard and Not Much Talent.
That'll do. That'll do.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for that, Matt. We got just a few questions left, and then we'll wrap up. Who had the biggest impact on you as a player? You mentioned a few names at Shawnigan Lake and with Canada when you're under 20, but does somebody really stand out that helped you on your path to Canada and Cornish and into your role as manager there now?
Probably two people had really big impacts on my career. One was somebody, Alan Lewis. I mentioned him. He was the director of Rugby at Hartpury. He just gave me the confidence to, play rugby in the way that I saw it myself. And, just hugely encouraging guy, but, wanted the best out of the team. So just sort of drove those standards. And then probably Kieran Crowley then. He was always a good mentor to me. I got along with him very well. Not everybody did. He wasn't disliked, I don't think. But, sometimes people aren't each other's cups of tea or whatever. But for me, he was really influential in my career and always sort of stood by me. And because he had confidence in me, I felt, so it probably gave me the confidence in myself to push on with it all.
That's good. Two good names there. That's nice. Next two questions. I think these are my two favorite to ask everybody. The first one is, what are your thoughts on what makes a great team player? I always like hearing from national, international athletes and professional players, like, what do you think makes a great team player, to see how those values line up at high school and minor systems and things like that. So what do you think makes a great team player?
Awareness of others is probably something. I'm probably a bit more of a stickler than other people just for my personality, because I could be wrong, but what I believe is that I am quite aware of what others need, or I would go out my way to help people or do what is expected of me, and I'm aware of what my role is, not just on the field but off it as well, whether it's cleaning up kit, appearing at events, how I conduct myself in community, all those sorts of things. I think an awareness applies to all of those. If you're not aware of what your job role is on the pitch, you're going to make mistakes and let people down. If you're not aware of your role in helping a club move forward, whether it's helping lock up, open up, clean up, whatever it is, that way you're not being the best part of you. And if you're not aware of the contribution you have to the community and the responsibility you have to be a good person in that, then what's the point? You're not helping anybody, you're not helping yourself. So I'd say that some of the best people I've met who have that awareness of, and I mentioned it a couple of times, and he is one of my great buddies and I played with him for a long time here, but somebody who is hugely aware of in all aspects of those lives was Brett Bucherboom. And he is a fantastic guy off the field. On the field, he should have been playing in the Premiership for years, but just never quite happened for him. But, and then as a leader as well, he's just, head and shoulders above. And you see it, we see it at the club now, the void he's left with his leadership, retiring. So
He's just,
awareness is probably the biggest thing for me.
I love that. I use that term all the time when I'm coaching, just on-field awareness. Again, like you and what you said, just to reiterate, awareness of your situations as to who you are, who you're representing. I like what you said about Brett. I've had him on a couple of times now, and he just seems like a genuine fella. I'm just a teacher at a private school, and when I reach out to people like you and Brett, people that have played internationally and professionally, I always find it amazing that so many of you are just willing to sit down and chat with me. And somebody like a Brett and Tyler Ardron's the same. We email each other, once or twice a month. I find that very neat because they don't know me, they've never met me, but Brett will have a conversation with me. He'll send me a message on Facebook or whatever, and I find that really impressive. And I think that really goes to what you're saying about Brett just being aware of who he is and what he can do as a rugby person in Canada, and have that spirit, I guess, to give back to the game and be a good ancestor and think about the legacy of rugby within Canada. So I think that's really cool. This one I like as well. It's let's fast forward here to 2031. So that puts you out 20 years from that 2011 Rugby World Cup. And you got into a couple of good games, and you said it was, one of your favorite times to play, as was 2015, but we'll look at 2011. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want those guys from that 2011 squad, the Chauncey O'Tooles, the Jebs, the Cudmores, what do you want them to be saying about Matt Evans, the player, Matt Evans, the person, the teammate?
I think as a player, I want them to see me as somebody who just was fully committed to what we were doing. Like I said, I don't think I was ever the most skillful or talented person, but I can hand on heart say I always gave everything I had, and I hope that was something that people picked up on. I played through knocks and everything as best I could, and if I couldn't, I was willing to be honest and step aside for the better of the team. But I was always going into everything as best I could. As a guy off the pitch, I just hope I was contributed positively to the atmosphere. I was always keen to do quiz shows, and I was probably a bit chirpy for some of them, a bit of banter, things like that. But I didn't annoy any of them too much. But it's somebody who was a good person to be around. When you got jumped in the elevator to go down for breakfast, if it was Mev standing next to you, you weren't hugely disappointed. So just somebody like that, really.
That's fair. I like that. All right, so the last question here, Matt. You're now managing the Cornish Pirates. We talked about it a little bit on and off. What's it like, the business side of rugby as opposed to the playing side? How have you adjusted? What do you think what are some challenges for you there?
Emotion is a difficult thing. I'm a very emotional person. I think I ran on emotion playing. We talked about that awareness and those standards. I was emotionally, it would get to me if people wouldn't help, or I didn't understand why people thought they were above doing things or whatever. And I think stepping into a managerial role where a lot more of that comes onto your plate, where it's managing people and not emotionally getting caught up in it. I probably spent the first 6 months of this job going to bed at night just mad at people. Why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? Why wouldn't they be proactive? But in essence, I think I've managed to void some of that emotion. I don't think that'll ever leave me because that's part of my personality. But I think the fact that when people come to you with problems, I've got to remember that their issue is the top of their list, even though in the list of things I have to do now, it might be near the bottom. But to that person, I owe them the respect to deal with that problem because it's their priority. But emotionally not getting caught up in it, being like, well, when I asked you last week to do that thing that I needed done right away and it took you 4 days to do it and I had to ring you 4 times, you don't, but now you want this done immediately because it affects you directly. I think being able to manage all that, and it's been funny reflecting on stuff. I don't, they all live around here and stuff. I can't imagine what some of the Canadian managers had to do over the years, getting everybody together, different time zones, connecting everybody that way. Logistically, it must have been a blinking nightmare. But it's probably it, just controlling the emotion a bit more and being a calm operator, as they say.
That's good. I mean, you're new to the role, right? So it's evolving, and it sounds like you're making progress. You got some good ideas there. It sounds like you have a good head on your shoulders for the management side of things. Lastly, Matt, any great rugby stories you can share with us? Just something to on the pitch, off the pitch.
This question, I've been thinking, I've been doing this running, and I've been thinking loads about what should I say. And there's some I was like, well, I can't really say that. But it made me delve deep into my thing. And one of the funniest things that I was ever part of, which I don't know if people will find it that funny, but I thought it was hilarious at the time. My first tour, like I said, was in 2008. And they actually took quite a few of us young guys at the time So we all knew each other. I think it was me, Nate, to Andy Tiedemann. I don't know if Ryan Hamilton was on it, and Sean White. And Sean White, scrum half, played 7s, 15s for Canada. Whitey's always been a bit of an electric dude. Something always happening around him. And we played Portugal, the first game of that 4-game tour. And we were in Lisbon there, in the capital. We'd been together a week. Not sure, I can't remember. I didn't play. I was non-select. I'm not sure if Sean was involved or not. But anyway, when we showed up, we got the kit bag full of stuff. Never seen so much kit. The dream of every rugby player when you show up, stash. And it wasn't just normal stash like all this. We get suits. We get these at the time I thought they were nice suits. I never really owned a suit. Now I'm looking back on it. I've still got it in my loft. It's not really a nice suit, but we got it. Play the game against Portugal. We won. A few cervezas start flying around, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in the middle of Lisbon in a nightclub as like 20-year-olds or, a bit older than that, 21 or whatever it was. And not really sure what happened, but Whitey's Portuguese wasn't very good, I don't think. So it ended up in, not tears essentially, but there was a bit of a fracas. Anyway, me and Whitey get chucked out onto the street, and we're walking back to the hotel. Nothing really bad happened, and we're walking back, and Whitey goes, "It's pretty blustery around here." And I was thinking, what are you talking about? And he goes, "Cold." And then I look at his back, and he's ripped his suit from top to bottom in the jacket and the shirt, and his pants had ripped in half. He's basically got a belt holding these 2 trouser legs together, and his tie is holding his shirt together, and then just the thin lapel on his jacket is holding that together. And he was like, "Oh, what am I going to do?" And I was like, "I don't know. We're leaving in the morning." He's like, "We're playing Ireland next week. We're going to have to go to an after-match function with these. And I've got no suit. I can't go to the manager and get a new one. I don't know what the hell we're going to do." So we spent the first 4 days in Ireland driving around every minute we had off, trying to find a tailor who would fix this bloody suit for White. And I think in the end he got it done, but it was so ripped, he had to hem it in so bad. So at the end of it, he had this stretch suit that it looked like a woman's suit that he'd bought from a bargain bin. And I don't know, they must have known. Everybody must have known, but we felt that we got away with it in the end. But
probably not.
One of the tame ones, but one that always makes me laugh, how he managed to get that suit ripped off his body in the middle of a nightclub. But and we were terrified at the time. We thought, "Oh, what are they going to," as you do, your young guys' first tour and everything.
Do you think he still has the suit?
No, Whitey's too cool for stuff like that. But no,
that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good one. So if I talk to Whitey and have him on my pod, is he going to say it was you that had the suit ripped off?
I don't think so. No, he knows I'm too sensible to say anything like that.
All right. Well, listen, Matt, I really appreciate taking the time. It's going to be like 9 o'clock over there now. You're probably getting ready for bed.
Yeah, on the nose, mate. Try and get some shut eye. Got another 10K in the morning. So
there you go. All right. Well, listen, wish you the best of luck finishing off your geez, I was going to say celebrity run, but that's not right.
No, charity run.
Charity run. I was close. Celebrity. They both start with a C. Anyway, best of luck finishing that off. Best of luck with the Pirates managing there, and I really hope we do see you back in Canada at some point, and doing some great things with rugby over in this side of the pond. And all the best to you and your family. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's really good to be on a good show, and I'm glad that you're getting good hits and likes and everything from it, and we're promoting such a great game in that country. So
appreciate it. That was awesome. Thanks very much, man. I had a lot of good stories. I had a good laughs, and Like I said, I'll try and get Whitey on maybe and see if there's a different version of that suit story to see what he says about it. Anyway, a lot of fun. Anyway, best of luck with finishing the season off for the Pirates there as you're the manager, and hopefully you're enjoying life on the sidelines as opposed to on the bench. Coming up soon, we got Dr. Summer Christie, sports psychologist who also played for Team Canada. Tommy Woods and Elisa Allaire and I are still trying to narrow down dates. We got that women's 2014 Rugby World Cup roundtable coming together nicely. We're just slotting some last guests, and now we're just looking into that local legends series with the Oakville Crusaders, which should be happening soon. All right, as always, I need to say thanks to everybody who listens. The pod obviously isn't about me. I'm just the medium to get these voices across to you. So I appreciate you listening. I appreciate when you spread the word. I appreciate when you share, like all that stuff. But it's about the players, the managers, and the rugby people that we have on. It's about them. Always got to say thanks to my son Rylan, who supplies us with our tunes. It's really cool that he wanted to be part of this with me. And as always, you've got my social media contact, you got my Gmail contact. Feel free to request topics for future podcasts, guests, questions, whatever. It's awesome. And lastly, this is Jamie. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane. You know what's coming next. Keep on rocking.